While the Independent Electoral Commission has declared the election free and fair, the National Freedom Party is not convinced about the results in the Edumbe in the Zululand district. The party says it convincingly won at least 7 wards, but the final results from the commission show the party only won 6. Legal analyst Mpumelelo Zikalala joins us to discuss this matter. Very good morning to you, Mpumelelo. Thanks for your time. The NFP went to court to halt the announcement of the final elections, but of course that didn't happen. The outcome was indeed announced as planned. Why did this matter not have some sort of role when it comes to the final announcement?
I think 2 factors must be considered here. Firstly, is the one of urgency. In terms of if you bring a matter on an urgent application to court, the court will then say, do you have any other alternative means to solve a dispute, or is your only option coming to court and halting, in this case, the announcement of elections? In this case, the answer is yes. There are still other options that are there. In terms of the Electoral Act, I think the Section 55(7) is quite clear that if you have any disputes, it doesn't stop the IEC from declaring those elections or making that particular announcement up until you've traversed the internal dispute structures, and then only then would the announcement change at the end of the day. So I think the NFP went to court yesterday limping in terms of its legal grounds and not having traversed the internal impact or the internal sort of structures that would have enabled their disputes to be resolved. Another thing to remember, 2 important factors which must be considered when making such an application. The first one is that, are you an interested party? They pass it flying colors on that one. But secondly, is the issue that you are complaining about going to have an immaterial impact on the results? So if at the end of the day, even if you are awarded that particular award, it doesn't change anything in terms of the PR seats or in the results that they come, they're not going to give you that particular reprieve or the solutions that you are looking for. So the court will say, we're not going to give you this one. It's not going to have any material effect. Look at the IEC Act. It tells you exactly what is expected from each political party.
Now, the IEC's Deputy Chair, Janet Love, accused political leaders of making unfounded allegations against the integrity of the people leading the commission without providing proof. In this case, as matters stand, just a bird's eye view, is there enough substance to indeed have this case bear some sort of significance?
I do not think so. Even one is not privy to the court papers as to what the NFP is submitting. However, one would have expected that at least an affidavit from the party agents that was there would have sufficed. The internal processes and reports from the IEC detailing what happened to the dispute, whether even an internal dispute was submitted at the time or at the voting station was actually submitted. And if there's none, then really that particular complaint is not substantiated by any facts and should be dismissed. But the most importantly is that there are structures that have been well developed by our IEC. They are there to make sure that disputes are solved within the shortest amount of time inside the voting station, within the provincial structure. And if all fails, then you are able to move to court. Secondly, there's an electoral court, a court which is specifically formed to deal with issues of elections. Now, to go to the Pietermaritzburg High Court, unless that court was sitting in as an electoral court, then it means you are even misdirected as to the court in which you are supposed to go to.
And how many of these objections could go to the electoral court? I mean, this is not the first objection, perhaps the most dramatic, because it was just a few hours from these announcements being made, from this election announcement being made. But in terms of success rate over the years, how much of these matters, such as these, have we seen, emerge and really make it with substance to the electoral court?
To the best of my knowledge, there are about 2 that have gone to the electoral court. It was really determined that the elections in those particular municipalities were not conducted in a manner in which is in line with the IEC Act. I think it's a Morofong municipality, if I'm not mistaken. However, it does show that we do have an electoral court which is working. We do have an electoral court that looks into those matters and makes sure that we comply with whatever legal prescriptions that we have. One of the issues that may come with these recent elections is the issue of the pre-approved MEC7 forms, in which there are some people who are claiming that they were rejected at voting stations because they were not registered in those voting stations. And the presiding officers within those stations did not take into account the pre-approved MEC7s. But for one to be a successful sort of applicant and to overthrow or to make sure that there are by-elections held in those municipalities, you have to prove with a substantial number of people that were rejected would have swayed or could have swayed the vote to the chances of your party winning or you as an independent candidate winning were actually high, and the rejection of those people from voting had a material effect on the outcome of that particular award or that particular municipality. Only in those instances, we may see the court saying that hold these elections again. We want to make sure that the will of the people is determined. Make sure that as the IEC, when you conduct these elections, you stick to what the rule book says, and you do not deprive anyone any of their rights of being able to vote.
Absolutely, very well. Thank you so much. Let's leave it though for now. Zwelakhe Mpumelelo Zikalala, pardon me, legal analyst, giving us some sort of eye view of what could happen with the NFP going to court to halt the announcement of the final election, the position that stands with this matter.